Hello and welcome to another edition of XFeed. Another day, another absolute travesty within the markets. We're going to be going over a lot of different thoughts. Now, this is going to highlight some things that were and now are not. This is going to highlight some things that are happening as of today. If you guys haven't seen the vibes, Good Vibes Club. They are minting today. That's something to watch as we are waiting to see exactly what kind of the market reciprocation is for something that's new. I feel like they're one of the collections that have done a lot of really good things on that front. It's connected with ETH and also going through Abstract for their other purposes and whatnot. Yo, Pino, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Holy smoke. How are we doing? So, yeah, this is going to cover a whole lot of different things within the market. I think that there is a lot of concern about certain points of it. I can't tell, right? Like, this is one of the things of like, we say that if we're all sitting in a room, we're probably all like, we're having a good time hanging out. But when you jump on the timeline, you really can't tell if people are engagement farming or like actually having fear, because you have half the people that are just randomly yelling stuff and other people that are just like, it is what it is. But with that said, woke up to another project postponing their token generating event due to unfavorable market conditions. Team stalled the entire last 6 months trying to time their TGE and now missed the boat. I know how the story will end. So it's interesting too, where we saw the Pudgy airdrop, we saw the Anime drop, and the Doodles announcement that they were doing a token in a time when the market was accepting of that and excited for it. And obviously, we've kind of seen a downturn with a lot of different things, but this is a big question for a lot of these collections that are NFT based. If they're doing a token that is still to come, let's use Doodles as an example because they're one of the big ones. What happens here? Do they launch the token anyway? Do they try to hold off for any rhyme or reason? Do they change the way that it is distributed? Is this going to impact teams thinking, hey, we are going to do a token and it's going to be basically a raise for us? Remember, we used to call everything within Web3 a raise, and people argued and said, oh, that's not the correct terminology. This isn't how we should do things, right? But anytime there was a mint, and more particularly when it was like a secondary collection mint, right? We'll use the mutants as an example. Bored Apes got airdropped those serums for the mutants, but then there was actually like an auction afterwards where people could purchase them, and we referenced that as a raise for the team, but you don't really see that verbiage used anymore. And now it's okay, are these teams going to venture capitalists to get funding? Are they trying to ramp up in some kind of partnership, get acquired by chance? There's a lot of questions straight across the board. One thing I learned about traveling, coming from Top Coffee Attack and playing poker in Asia, they only know USDT and they don't even know that USDC exists. So this is a question for you. When you think of the stable coins out there, do you think of USDT or do you think about USDC? I would probably say that USDC is what I would think about. Not that I necessarily go out and buy either. I'm not necessarily a big stable coin holder, but yeah. Okay. So, security reminder of the day. This is about Telegram, but let's rip through it super quick. I just lost my Telegram account to the scam. The sophisticated social engineering trick is compromising Telegram accounts. So, what's the scam message and what are the warning signs, how the scam operates, protecting yourself? And so the first link here is this anonymous account saying, hello, we have received relevant reports of inappropriate educational content posted in this group. Therefore, we have decided to limit some functions of your account. Does that even make sense? We have received relevant reports of inappropriate educational content. Inappropriate educational content. That doesn't even make sense. If no one reports, the authorities will only deal with the reported content. I don't know. So hopefully your red flags go up of that message. This is weird to begin with, but I guess that person fell for it and ended up losing their account. So again, be careful. Herman, the person that is behind Improbable, as well as trying to acquire Nike's artifact, saying, I don't think we fully appreciate how it would be for AI to present a plan to rule us rather than current politicians that most humans would sign up for. Okay, so ignore the dystopian aspect about this. We're continually bringing up the AI component because I think that there's going to be different toolings and things that we see every day that is going to be very insightful. But imagine having a whole bunch of information, being able to put it into like an AI to be able to like put out various plans. 100 times faster than a person doing that. Nothing against people, but there's no way you can compete in terms of thinking the processes, comparing, contrasting. I just think AI is going to be huge. Funny how sometimes people change their profile pics, and I start to take what they say more or less seriously. I think as we continue on, I've always told the story of how I felt like for a time within the space, it was almost a sign of when you came in, right? So if you had like a Doodles profile, you probably didn't end up spending, $7,000+ on it. You were probably somebody that minted. Same with Bored Ape. So you were back there in, 21. And if you were a CryptoPunk, you probably got in a little bit earlier, or you have a lot of money to spend. And nowadays, it's a lot more culturally relevant depending on what your PFP is, because everybody's addicted to the internet. Now, whether I feel within the Web3 space, I think there's like a rather large amount of people that don't have sports related profile pics, which I thought there was going to be more of. A lot of the people that are diehard sport fans of some sort have an NFT avatar. So what exactly does that mean? But Carl commented on that previous post, and that's actually where I saw it, saying, "Oh, is this like in response to my my post earlier?" Because they highlighted that Utes back in 23 were what a lot of bigger names on X were using as profiles. And you can see they've all switched, a lot of them going to Pudgy Penguins, their own kind of branding. But it goes back to the notion of, okay, well, people jump around to whatever's hot, whatever's culturally relevant. And if it just becomes completely non-existent in the spotlight, well, why the hell would anybody care? And so that's why attention matters. Perspective matters. Everything else matters. One of my biggest convictions on Web3 gaming, Forgotten Runes MMORPG. Based on the Forgotten Runes Wizards cult, developed since 2021, 10 plus lore-based NFT collections, sold 200,000 copies of their first comic, which, okay, so I ordered the comic being like, this is great. We're going to read some Web3 comic. I think the distributor or whatever got completely shut down because I emailed them. It's been like 2.5 months. Been like, yo, where the hell are the comics? And they're like, sorry, bud. And I'm like, okay, then. So I haven't read the comics. Waiting to see. But official game launch in Q1. XP token plus airdrop coming. Very interesting. What I wanted to highlight from this, though, is the 10 plus lore-based NFT collections. Because when you go through this, I think that I'd make the argument that we have a hard time in Web3 because everything is so hard to get on board with. I mean, we'll use Doodles as an example, which isn't really like a great one, because I would argue it's not that hard, but like you have the Doodle collection, okay? And then they came up with those duplicators, and the idea was that you can swap your NFT, like the Doodle, and send it to space to earn these space miles, and that's going to be used for points or whatever. And you're like, okay. And then they have the Coinbase, they got the shows, the different passes and whatnot. Then they have something over on Flow, and it's like, okay, I kind of have the idea of like what's going on there, but that's only, like 2-3-ish things. And then Forgotten Runes, we have like 10 plus. So we have the Forgotten Runes Wizard Cult. We got the Warriors Guild, which is like their second collection, the Souls, which if you burn something on the Wizard, they become Souls. Deflationary on one collection, rare on another one. They have ponies you're going to be able to ride around eventually. The Veil, different beasts. They got Beast Spawn, Nightmare Imp Treat Boxes, Gate. We got Anthonium. We have all this stuff, right? And so unless you become a maxi of a certain collection, you're just not going to really get familiar or know the ins and outs of various collections. And so seeing different takes on the timeline, I'm always kind of the mindset of like, yeah, how often does somebody like really know something when they trash a collection, either here or there? Yesterday, 1.75 trillion was wiped out from the US stock market. Holy, jeez, what are we doing, brother? That's crazy. Markets are absolutely tanking. More crazy news coming out of this. I mean, I'm not like a big into politics by any means, but it's one of those things here where like across the board, this is putting a huge spotlight on politics all around the globe. What's going to happen about certain things? Things are breaking everywhere. People are going to get outraged over things. How long does this ultimately last before something breaks? And then, all right, everything kind of changes because it feels like this is sharp, drastic pain all of a sudden. And can we point to one or two things, or is it significantly more than that? I've seen again on the timeline talking about people, I can't tell if they're actually bearish or, farming engagement, but there is a lot of people that are like, yo, when things turn around, it feels like we're going to have a massive repricing, and maybe things were overvalued before. And that begs the question now for everything within Web3 with a microscope on top of it. It's really got to show why it's got something that's so good. Did you see someone put 182 million long on ETH? Okay, so Peanut, I saw that, but is that the Ethereum Foundation or is that something different than the Ethereum Foundation? Because there was reports that were coming out, and I think we have it a little bit later within the stream, but it was somebody found that like the Ethereum Foundation went long at ETH and their liquidation price is like 1,100 ETH. So the Ethereum Foundation is hyper gamblers. That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. So I saw this clipping earlier, and I think that it was Ivar that posted about it. It might have been you, Peanut, but I think it was Ivar, maybe both of you. But this is interesting because Abstract, it is a blockchain network that is trying to focus on streamers, and we are live on Abstract as well. Woohoo! You get to see it. We have one person watching, which I think is me. Great, that's fine. But I only go live, right, for like 30 minutes a day, right? And it's kind of hard to get any traction. And you'll notice a lot of people say, oh, you know, I stream forever, I do X amount of hours, and then you'll have people that have been in the space, or sorry, streaming space for a while say, oh, you got to focus more on like doing clips, trying to get like a general fan base, because again, just going live for hours and hours and hours, you're just going to get burnt out, talking to nobody, etc. And, you know, I kind of agree with that, because I used to stream about RuneScape. We had a couple of friends. It was good, but like, was it really that entertaining? Yeah. Kind of beggars can't be choosers. And that line doesn't even make sense with what I'm saying. But the point being is Abstract is trying to take over streaming in a way. And how does that actually happen? And yo, Siki, what's going on? The post reads a wallet claiming to be the ETH Foundation. Ah, okay, Peanut. This is a good decipher. But good to see you, Siki. So how are they going to do this? And this was a question that I genuinely had, because I'm like, all right, we got like Web3 gamers. Maybe this is a place where maybe Twitch can't find like a home, and we collectively, as like all the, yo, we're into crypto, NFTs, yo, most people hate that, but yo, not us. And it could be a home for that. But I think that there needs to be something more. And so I saw this and I was like, damn, this is actually crazy. So want to get paid for clipping Abstract streams? Go check out our WAP bounties and start getting paid today. Clipping is the easiest side hustle right now. Pick a creator, clip, edit, upload, get paid. It's that simple. Start earning on WAP.io today. So these are the concepts that are great. Now let's take it a step further and say that you are somebody who watches one of the bigger streamers on Twitch. And you have people that clip all the time. And generally speaking, if you go on TikTok, if you go on like X videos, hell, even Facebook, is like any social media platform, Instagram as an example, you will see majority of the times it's not full streams, right? It's only these clips, but these clips end up going super mega viral, where people are arguably now streaming simply to get a good clip to hopefully have that go out. And if you're a bigger streamer, you don't need to have an editor go through and do this. Sure, you can have one that compile it afterwards. Maybe they edit the entire stream, but there's enough people watching that think, haha, that's funny, let me clip that. But if you're a smaller streamer, you just will not ever get that unless you ask a friend to do it, or there's somebody that's into what you're doing and they realize that'll benefit you, right? So this is absolutely ingenious, and I think that we are not giving enough love to this. And obviously, this has come out just a couple of days ago, but this is absolutely friggin' brilliant, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, on-chain finance is here. What is your custody strategy? From tokenized RWAs to stablecoins, institutions are embracing crypto, but security, compliance, and seamless are critical. Yada yada yada. Okay, can I rant for a second? All right. Cool. So there is very, very few times on the stream where I'm like, yo, you should pay attention to things because I think they're cooking, right? We've highlighted segment a whole bunch. We've been doing the podcast with them. That's one of them for sure. I mean, we literally streamed the Bored Ape live stream way back in the day. I've highlighted different collections that I think are interesting. And one of those things, and it's not NFT related, but within the crypto space, is auto blockchain. Now, this is something out of Futureverse, but it is connected with Ripple custody, and nobody wants anything to do with it that have brought it up. Now, I don't know if this is like, people are like, I don't really like certain things around Futureverse. Maybe I don't want to do the KYC, but they're giving out a ton of their free token to just sign up on their platform. It is KYC involved. I get it. So if you don't want to do that, that's cool. That's cool. But the reason why I wanted to give a little bit of a plug to this ahead of time is because we're going to do two things that highlight this. But again, it's OTTO blockchain, auto blockchain. And this is talking about Ripple custody, first of all. Not from auto, but they are connected, and we'll go to a clip afterwards. But let's get into it.
We're in a world where everything can be tokenized, and that's where Ripple custody comes in. Here's how it works. The custody platform acts like a digital vault to safeguard both your and your client's assets. This vault is protected by the highest standard of bank-grade security for digital assets. Digital assets can be managed and accessed through a cryptographically secured infrastructure layer. This acts as a sort of door or single access point, which means you can choose who can do what with those assets. Next, Thanks to an API-first model and a unique modular design, bank management systems can easily connect to the platform through a user-friendly interface, allowing for simple user control and integration. This makes things like token management, transferring, accounting, and custody straightforward and easy without compromising security, governance, or compliance. Lastly, the custody platform is plug-and-play and interoperable, unifying interactions with multiple underlying blockchains and their applications, external data sources like AML or other data providers, and to other market players like exchanges, marketplace venues, and regulated custodians. Now is the time to tap into the future of finance.
Okay, so that sounds cool, right? That sounds cool, but okay, how the hell am I supposed to get involved in that in any capacity? It's Ripple custody. What can I do? Well, here's a follow-up.
There's a company called Futureverse. They are an AI and metaverse company. They're building and bridging ecosystems. They're doing some really cool stuff. They're building on the XRP ledger, and separately, they needed to find a custody solution because they got it from day one that what they wanted to do was have the option to safely store incoming crypto from their customers before minting it on their own auto blockchain. So what they looked for and found in Ripple at that time was an institution with skin in the game. Skin in the game meaning we have been committed to developing on-chain for over 10 years now. We have significant digital assets ourselves that we manage, so we know the importance of governance and what can go wrong. We think about it every moment of every day. And finally, we're also in this space where we're a regulated organization that's our regulated activity and our licenses around the world mean that we can't afford for anything to go wrong. So those are the challenges that we see, and having skin in the game and a like-minded organization to work with become increasingly important.
Okay, so again, just highlighting, I don't care. You don't want to look at it in the rest of your life. That's totally fine. But I'm just saying, might be worth the time to look at early here. And again, that's what it's all about. Finding some stuff that's early, that's potentially interesting. From breaking records to breaking new ground, dramatic music. Yuga Labs CEO Crypto Garga talks about what's next for other side meta. So, I mean, do you guys still like metaverses? Do you think that it's exciting? Do you think that it matters? Do you think Bored Apes are still the king in that? Do you think there's going to be something else that comes through? What is the overall thought? Now, I was hoping that this was going to be kind of a quick read. So let me see. Okay, so we'll just read this first one because I feel like this is going to go super long otherwise. So what's the significance of breaking the Guinness World Record within the greater context of Other Side? If you missed it, they held a event where they tried to have the most video game players in a single instance. I think the number was around like 1,700. They had to do the attempt twice. First time it didn't. Second time they were able to get it. But Gargas says, Other Side is a metaverse platform we've been working on for years and are super excited about. One thing that's near and dear to us as Yuga is when we set out to do something, we aim to do it so big and crazy that no one can follow. It was the same thesis behind our first Ape Fest where we hadn't gone quite as big. I feel like I could have set a new meta where everyone wants to start NFTs that are throwing concerts, but having the Strokes, Beck, and Chris Rock made everyone else want to try something different. So I went to this. They also had like the DaBaby perform, and he came on for like 4 songs and then left. It's very interesting. They gave out free drinks for it. They had a whole bunch of apes that were put up on the wall. People ended up trying to take their own ape afterwards, and there was a lineup out the door where they're giving away like original Ape Fest posters. I don't know what they're going on for secondary, but it was an absolute wild time. For the first trip to Other Side, we had about 4,600 users all in one lobby, which is a lot for a video game. Like Fortnite, you're in a battle royale with 100 people. BattleBit Remastered, I think, is the biggest battle royale I know of, and it's 256 people. Those are voxelized, low-fidelity characters, still super fun and insanely chaotic with 256 players. But it's a bit different. We've done these spectacles before where we bring so many people together and it's insane how small of a town worth of Vitra. So I'm trying to like understand. So they already had the record before, if I'm reading this. So they had 4,600 and then 7,000 at a different point, excuse me. But when you think about a shooter, the technicals of getting everyone, and we felt like we were ready to break the Guinness World Record, which was stood at 1,500 people at once. We should be performant up until around 3,000. I'm so confused. So they already like broke the record before, but then they had to like officially get it like checked out. I'm not fully aware. Anyway, if you guys want to check that out, again, they have the full article breaking down a whole bunch of stuff. I thought it was going to be a little bit more, able to read quickly, but those are like paragraph answers. All right, the Readyverse early access. We've been waiting this for a while, but we get to compare and contrast, right? So we just looked at an article from Other Side. We've streamed it before. If you type in Other Side Schiller on YouTube, you should be able to see we've streamed almost all of the different activations except for the world record attempt. We streamed the one that it failed at, but either way, Readyverse coming soon. Little hot tub in the metaverse. Crazy. So what you're seeing there is one of the boroughs. And Featureverse was working with a different team before, but I don't know if they just didn't have the right quality or they wanted to do it on their own. But Stop Stalled changed it up. They're launching this again with the creators of Ready Player One. They have the movie producer, Dan Farah, and then the author, Ernest Klein. They're having Fluff and Party Bear, which are some of the NFT holders, as early access, but otherwise you can waitlist it on Epic Games right now. So the title of the stream that I had is people are going to have to announce funding, or they're going to have to get acquired, or they're going to have to just simply shut down. And maybe that's an overreaction. It very, very well could be an overreaction. But we've seen some acquisitions and teams shutting down over the last little bit. And we've highlighted a lot of them throughout the stream. If you watch, and again, if you do watch every day, you're phenomenal. You are phenomenal. But Immutable, Robbie Ferguson. Immutable and IMX Foundation has 200 million USD in cash. Now's the time of reassurance and equivalence. Scaled from 0 to the 10th highest monthly active user blockchain in the world in less than a year, $3+ billion public companies launching games this year. This is nothing compared to what the scale of gaming will be. We aren't leaving. And I agree, gaming's still going to be massive, but also very nice to see or have some kind of reassurance within the space as a whole. Now, it's a little bit less reassuring as we still have kind of the hot potato game. And so if you remember, Hyperliquid token auctions were crazy. If you remember the Infinity Gods, they went after the God Ticker, spent a whole bunch on that. Pixel Vault and GG for the Reboot Protocol, spent a bunch. But like, holy smokes, went completely parabolic. And now you just don't see the timeline talking about it at all, period. So we always got to be careful of the hot potato. Okay, so Sam Spratt, there's all this talk about their new royalty structure. So let's read what it says. I designed this royalty structure to see myself as the artist, the platform, and the collectors of my work as part of an ecosystem. Sorry, a common system. A relationship that only grows with some skin in the game. So how does it work? If my market moves, I move with it up or down. The initial average mint of what a mass costs is our ground truth. If a secondary sale is made above the average mint price, my royalty gradates? I mean, graduates? What the hell is gradates? I don't actually know what gradates is. Gradates. Pass or cause to pass gradiates from one shade of color to another. Arranging steps or grade of size and amounts. All right, so it goes up or down. Cool. Listen, this is English class all over again. That can be as little as fractions of a percent if a work is sold a hair over the average mint price, with an even tinier fraction of a percentage going to the platform. However, should the work do well, that fraction for both of us can move up to 1 to 2%, all the way up to a standard 10% should my work be selling for 2x the initial average mint price. 10% royalties. Holy suffering succotash. It's funny to think about, though. Royalties just aren't discussed the way they used to be. And like 10% would get you absolutely cooked in this market, especially. So this is the power of social media, right? Imagine we all didn't talk to each other, but we were just like each into these ecosystems. Do you think we would notice the 10%, or it would be like much of an uproar, or like you log into X and you see a whole bunch of people complaining about that all the time? And you're like, all right, this is suddenly a big deal. As I see, a royalty is a powerful way for this whole ecosystem to build, but it also should be earned and maintained. So for any secondary sale below average mint price, both NGS and I will receive 0 royalties. I'm attempting to build a long future for myself, my family, or community. And our community. Should the market move in favor of my work, we move together, and should it move away, I don't believe anyone should be punished but myself on the way out. Very interesting verbiage, but still kind of cool. Okay, so Peanut brought this up earlier. Ethereum Foundation with leverage position isn't bullish news, it's gamblers news. I agree. Why the hell is the foundation like massively gambling here? Yeah, we saw it last cycle with the FTX who had user data and still lost. Even if Ethereum Foundation can leverage enough to miss liquidation price, it's not a good look in my opinion. Very much agree, but also this line is super underrated. We saw it last cycle with FTX, who literally had user data and inside information of what people were doing and could probably throw that in an AI program without even having to have a human go over that and be like, here's the trends of what's going to happen. And they still lost. It's crazy. So we talked about partnerships a lot yesterday. I made the notion about how everything's about, getting you to buy something. So Major League Baseball, Fortnite, Shohei Ohtani, anything they can make a buck on. Now, granted, again, if you're playing Fortnite and you're like a big baseball fan, I love it, right? I'm not like disparaging on it. But I think if you create something that people want or desire, man, everybody wants to work with you. I dream about this, says Dim.eth, and this is the graphic from Heavy Metal back in the day. If you didn't see this before, we have the main Bored Ape, and then it goes into one of the heavy metals, and then it shows that these get bigger and larger over time. And the concept was that you were playing the Heavy Metal Forge game to get components to make a giant robot and basically have your Pacific Rim 2.0. Have you ever seen the movie? What a banger series. Like, not really a series, but they do have a second movie, and I think an animated one too. But this went nowhere. Yugi said, screw it, giving it over to somebody else. People are spending $1,000 a day on this, going back to the Utes earlier, where that was talk of the town and excited. More hot potato. People buy into an idea, and if it doesn't come to fruition, people go on to whatever is the next thing. In Goblin Town, kind of with the roast, it's kind of funny. The very few people are going to get, but Bored Ape Yacht Club, thanks for letting us borrow those party lights that make you blind. Much better. And they have a grayed out visual of the 1.5 trillion wiped out of the stock market, and then also a crypto wallet that is absolutely obliterated, but it's blinded. So if you don't get the reference, there was one of the Ape Fests that happened in Hong Kong, and I guess in one of the side rooms or like one of the areas there, they had brights that were like too intense, and so there's a few people that woke up like having vision problems. It went super viral because they're like, NFT partiers go to an event and they walk away blind because they're dumb. Or it was kind of a stupid headline, but it went super viral, so it's like kind of funny. But very few people are going to get that. Okay, so root rewards and Futureverse. This is all massively, massively changing, and I haven't really digested it too much, so we'll rip through like a brief bit of this. But over the last 18 months, the Futureverse future score system has been the cornerstone of rewarding our community's participation in our ecosystem. Throughout this journey, we've launched 18 quests, distributed around 356 million root to our community, with quest 18 still pending, and explored the current future score system's full potential. So the idea was that you held these NFTs, and if you completed a quest, whether it be bridging to a network, whether it be trading, adding liquidity to a pair of tokens, you were able to get root, and it was like a multiplier based off of what the assets you held were. And so if you look over to Izuki, they have the badge system, but if you look at other ecosystems like Bored Apes and Pudgy Penguins, if you had the NFTs, you basically just got the airdrop all in one go. This has been an extraordinarily slow drip. Your engagement, insights, and passion have shaped what comes next. So the evolution of rewards. While Future Score helped us to engage your community and help test and bootstrap the root network and applications, it's now time to evolve in order to help us scale to the next level. So it's now being called Root Rewards. The Root Network's rewards program is the all new way to reward owning and using collectibles and driving network engagement. Root Rewards will evolve the way rewards are earned and distributed within our ecosystem, where everything you do amplifies your earning potential with Root points and ultimately Root as the reward. So couple different things: incentivize real-time engagement, because before you didn't really have an opportunity to ever get these points or engagement score. Expand earning opportunities and introducing referral-based rewards. So this is kind of also interesting, as somebody's covered the network forever. It's like, holy smokes, that would have been good to have a while ago, but all right. And then they're accelerating and automating the root distribution. So I don't want to spend too much time on it. Maybe we do a different video, but it does seem like a lot of stuff is happening around the Futureverse ecosystem and the NFTs. So we'll see if they end up catching a bid or not. So back to the whole partnership thing, Crocs and Fortnite. If you have anything people want, it's just going to get integrated with everything, and people are going to want to be a part of it. Coinbase, 5 hours ago, were approved to launch in India, which, thinking back to a while ago, I feel like I've covered some news that wasn't super positive around crypto in India. So my first reaction is this is great. And then we have 1K here saying, this is a significant announcement in my opinion. India has over 50% population below 30 and a huge amount of people with entrepreneurial drive. India embracing crypto will be a huge positive for the space. So it's like, all right, cool. So I remember not super friendly dynamics there. And reminder, you have the demographic, you have the entrepreneurialness, and now we got Coinbase joining in over there. Phenomenal. So Gary Vaynerchuk and VeeFriends. I would make maybe the bold statement that almost everything within Web3 that has an IP of some sort is going to try to do a show, a movie, a comic, various art pieces. It's very similar, right? Like if you go across the board, sure, we have collections that are trying to do certain toys, right? Whether it be physical collectibles or like toy packs you open up. Some of them are going into trading card games. We could add that into the list. But Gary out here highlighting some comics. Who's great at reading comic books and wants to be filmed doing it for some content we are cooking up? Who are YouTubers to crush reading books or comics? It would be great for this. So again, VeeFriends getting into the comics. Don't click on the bubble map. Well, hold on a second. The bubble map. Am I messing up? What did I do? What did I do? Also, I don't know why, but on Abstract, it keeps giving me a notification that there's a message. Hey, look at that. Only need 99,000 more XP on Abstract. Only 99,000. Unfreaking believable. Ha, 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 ha. So this is kind of weird. You open the timeline, right? You're like, all right, I'm going to end stream, but let's open the timeline for one more thing here. Justin, U.S. Congress Nick Begich to introduce strategic Bitcoin reserve legislation in the House today to buy 1 million Bitcoin. To buy 1 million Bitcoin. You know how much money that is? What does this happen to the market? Does all of a sudden this buy fix the market and send things? Does it matter? Is it only going to happen in Bitcoin? Do you have the Bitcoin maxis parading about things? What happens? At the same time, we're saying all this stuff of banks, countries being open to crypto. We just looked over the Ripple custody, highlighting the bank to get involved with it. It's a meme. You can say it in an Indian accent. Ah, okay, my bad. I'm a fish. The bill already has 6 co-sponsors apparently, but the point being is what happens to the market overall. Last check, and then we'll get out of here. Market crap. See, that's what we should just say anytime the market is in a bad state. The market cap's down. It's market crap. But still below the 3 trillion we hit before. It's up a little bit. Bitcoin 81K. Ethereum hovering around 2K. Don't worry. ETH isn't getting liquidated today. Stablecoins. Listen, that's not $1. I thought we wanted stablecoins at exactly $1. 0.9997. That's close, but not enough. Ripple down quite mightily, actually. I feel like this was $3 a month ago. It was $2.87. If we go further back, it did hit that on January 16th. It was at $3.20. Now it's at $2.12, and everybody's screaming that everything's over, but the adoption is happening. And that's, what are we doing? Anyway, that's it for this edition of XFeed Peanut. You're an absolute goat, even though I'm allergic to you. Sneaky, appreciate coming through, and I'm Tolly. You're the man. And when are we playing League? When are you getting on NA servers? Oh my goodness. All right. Have yourself a good one, guys. We'll talk soon. Peace.